Caitlyn Clark's entrance in the WNBA has created quite a stir, not just because of her unique skill set, but also because of her magnetic personality, which continues to attract new admirers. Caitlyn is the buzz of the league, so it's no wonder that WNBA head coaches are frequently asked about her at media conferences. While coaches try to be polite and avoid causing controversy, they frequently have no option but to comment about Caitlyn Clark and her exciting game. The majority of their remarks center on her on-court demeanor and are framed around specific games, but if you read between the lines, there are some intriguing insights to be found. Stay tuned because what these coaches are saying may possibly expose the truth regarding Caitlyn Clark's future in the WNBA. And some are publicly attempting to fill the available coach position at the Indiana Fever. They are itching to work with Clark. The coach's personality also plays a role. Therefore, some of the most intriguing remarks about Caitlyn Clark came from successful coaches who had previously played in the WNBA. Becky Hammond, a six-time WNBA All-Star and WNBA career assist leader who spent years with the San Antonio Spurs, has some liberty to express her feelings regarding Caitlyn Clark. The current Las Vegas Aces coach was completely honest when it came to Clark and the ongoing dispute that has dominated the news for months.
We love Caitlyn Clark. I think she's amazing. I watched every time I possibly could. And our league loves her. This has nothing to do. We're just doing our job. We're going to show up. Whoever's effort on the other team is on the other team. We don't really care. We're going to show up and do us. And so I think this narrative of like everybody hating on Caitlyn Clark and even the black and white thing, knock it off. It's not there.
The coach expresses her admiration for Caitlyn, but she also defends all of the WNBA players who chastised the college points record holder when she first entered the pro league. The culture of constantly competing hard is a more plausible explanation for Caitlyn Clark's tough love than the racial storyline promoted by some media personalities and a few players in recent months. Becky Hammond is categorical about this, and she could be correct. It's about time everyone stopped bringing Clark's name up in every potential discussion and instead focused on her hoop. The fact is that the great majority of WNBA players and head coaches would love to have Caitlyn Clark on their team, but because they don't, they pretend the situation is bleak. Cheryl Reeve, the Minnesota Lynx's coach, provided perhaps the most blatant illustration of such thinking. While Clark was still at Iowa and her club was not in the race for the Star Guard, Reeve delivered an impassioned speech on the contentious issue of tanking for great players. This is what she stated regarding the potential of pursuing Clark in the WNBA draft.
We're going to tank for Caitlyn Clark and like that. It's just not how I would do things. If Glenn came to me and said, Cheryl, I want you to do that, I probably would step aside and say, let someone else do that. I don't believe in that. I think if you get there organically and that's what you deserve, great. I am never going to try to be in that situation. Caitlyn Clark might make you want to lose every game, but not here, not in Minnesota.
Many coaches feel the same way, but this seems a little extreme. Losing games on purpose to gain a better draft pick is an unsportsmanlike strategy that usually backfires. However, addressing both the team owner and Clark by name was superfluous. We don't know if any of the clubs in the bottom of the standings intentionally lost games last season, but given the strength of the incoming draft class, it's reasonable to assume that some of them didn't mind. Since then, Cheryl has taken a different approach while discussing Caitlyn, and what you will hear today is impressive.
I said the single best thing that she does that young players don't do is she plays at an incredible pace. And pace can get you really, really far, and there's great value in that. Pace and passing, I think, are her two greatest things. I know the sexier part is probably the logo 3, but the pace and the passing is what makes her exceptional.
Young players require time to make an impression at the next level, and it was widely predicted that the Indiana Fever would struggle to start the season. As Caitlyn Clark got more at ease in her new surroundings, the team evolved. Stephanie White, a former Indiana Fever player who is currently the former head coach of the Connecticut Sun and the reigning coach of the year, provided an unusual perspective on the team's improvement during Clark's first season.
For a young team that's really growing into yourself, the understanding of one another, the timing, the pace, the connectedness just wasn't quite there early. It's there now. Everybody on the floor understands how, when, and where Caitlyn Clark can get them the ball, and so they get there.
This may be the most level-headed assessment of Clark's season we've heard all year. Fever was out of sync early on, as seen by their win-loss record. Caitlyn Clark undoubtedly propelled their rise in the standings, but many other team members contributed significantly. Stephanie White admits this, but cautions against jumping to conclusions and giving a new squad time to establish its identity. This is a viewpoint shared by numerous other WNBA head coaches with the most knowledge and the sharpest brains in women's basketball. Sandy Brondello, the Australian-born coach who presently heads the New York Liberty, provided an excellent response when questioned about Caitlyn Clark's rise to superstardom. To make it even more relevant, she concentrated mostly on what she witnessed on the court with her own eyes during her team's games versus Indiana Fever.
Yeah, it looks like she's a great young talent, and you have to remember that she's a young talent. She's coming into the WNBA for the first time. She's going to be a really good pro. I know that much. But it's hard coming in as a number one. When's the last time a number one pick has come in and dominated from the start? And I think she's had some really good moments because she'll shed 20 in the first game, and you will open the kicker to single digits in that last game. But very capable, can't leave her open. So I think the whole game plan's around her, and she's going to be a player that will continue to grow because I think she's a quick learner, high basketball IQ. So yeah, she's going to be okay.
The strain that has been placed on Caitlyn Clark as a collegiate prodigy and media personality, not to mention the first choice in a very good draft, has not been adequately discussed. When this is taken into account, her transition to the professionals appears even more astounding, especially because coaches like Sandy Brondello are throwing the whole defensive playbook at her. At this moment, it's evident that Clark will undoubtedly develop into a more complete player, but no one knows where her ceiling truly lies. She is now not being granted any grounds on the court or in the media room. Curt Miller, the Los Angeles Sparks coach, is among those who believe it is still feasible to slow Caitlyn Clark down. After his club split 2 games against the Indiana Fever, the experienced coach praised Clark in general, but promptly followed up with a compliment on his own defensive strategy.
I mean, she is elite, and she is one special player. Things that stand out to me that's been around the game for 35 years, she plays with great pace. She plays with a great tempo first. She is an elite passer. She is an elite passer. She sees things before they develop, and she can really read things. That's why for us to turn her over 7 times and maybe have some other passes that might have been turnovers attributed to a bad catch or so, was impressive for us tonight because she is an elite passer of the basketball. So that's what makes her special. Everyone talks about the logo threes. To me, what that does is she got incredible range, but it just opens up the floor for everybody else. That logo range opens up the floor. And so you always have to be guarding her, and you always have to be giving her attention. She's really special.
The coach does not appear to be too concerned about Caitlyn Clark. He either has a terrific poker face or honestly believes that Caitlyn was only able to score against the Sparks because she made so many free throws. She scored 30 points in one game and almost had a triple-double in the other, but Coach Miller considers it a respectable defensive performance. He is hardly the first coach who has doggedly prioritized defensive effort above Caitlyn Clark's skill. This is a recurrent subject in post-game press conferences, regardless of the game's ultimate result. Eric Thibault, the Washington Mystics' head basketball decision-maker, was likely the most forceful of all coaches. He chose to be passionately loyal to his players and give credit to any defender who covered Clark during the game.
Just a little bit more size. I think we did a pretty good job one-on-one. They started running her off more screens, and that's a little tougher. Dee's big, trying to navigate all those screens. I thought we did a pretty good job one-on-one. Ariel took a turn on her down the stretch too. Trying to keep Ariel out of foul trouble a little bit early in the game. Hey, she makes a tough shot. We forced her into 8 turnovers, but she made some tough-ass shots. So credit to Caitlyn.
Coach Eric deserves credit for standing up for his players, but he is undervaluing Caitlyn Clark. It doesn't take a basketball guru to recognize that Clark does more than simply dash off screens and make difficult shots. She is her team's offensive engine and one of the top playmakers in the WNBA, and she causes problems for opponents whether she plays point guard or goes loose without the ball. Her turnover figures hardly reflect the full story, and while she has to be more cautious, she contributes so much on the court that cherry-picking numbers to criticize her is just unfair. We seldom hear WNBA coaches acknowledge Caitlyn Clark's effect on the sport of women's basketball. The league's current high attendance and influx of sponsor money are directly due to Caitlyn Clark's popularity. Most professional coaches who face Clark avoid discussing it, but her college rival had enough foresight to go that route. Surprisingly, Clark garnered the most endorsements from the coach of a squad she had very fierce confrontations with. Nate Tibbetts, the Phoenix Mercury's coach, went into great depth to describe Clark's domination, even predicting her future destiny in very strong words. He admitted that the Clark we see today is already a threat to defenses, and he predicted that defensive systems will become increasingly less effective at restricting her as she gains crucial WNBA experience.
What makes it effective is Clark's shooting ability and passing ability. She puts a lot of pressure on you with both areas. She can come off and shoot it, but then she's a great passer. And the more she's in the league, she's even going to become a better passer because she's going to see everything. Coaches, teams are throwing everything at her. And, that's what great players see. The more reps they get at it, they're going to continue to improve, and she has that ability to improve.
The idea is that Caitlyn Clark is already an all-around offensive player. You can't sag off her since she'll score at any time. And if you send aid, she'll locate open shooters quickly. Confusing her with unique defensive arrangements can only work for so long, and Clark will undoubtedly improve her ability to recognize such traps and remain ahead of her opponents. The league as a whole is gradually realizing that Caitlyn will be an issue for years to come, even if saying this openly is difficult. Some WNBA coaches are irritated by the loudness and would prefer the attention to go back to the game itself. While such an approach appears logical, denying Caitlyn her moment in the limelight is unacceptable, especially coming from a coach whose players are mainly responsible for some of the young stars' mistreatment. Some other coaches are purposefully adopting a different approach, giving Clark the credit she deserves, maybe in an effort to dampen her competitive drive. The Seattle Storm have also played Caitlyn physically, but at least their coach is open about her evident skills. Coach Noel Quinn delivered one of the most positive assessments of Caitlyn's game that we've heard from someone of her stature, outlining all of the characteristics that make her a terrific basketball player.
She's a good player, shot making ability, deep, and we don't talk enough about her passing. Her being 6 feet, she can see a lot. Make a lot of reads, and obviously teams are being aggressive on her, and she's still, finding ways to, score, get to the rim, and assist her teammates. She's confident, she's poised, she's different, she's a beast. We talk about her being a generational talent. She has a lot of talent, and she's going to continue to keep getting better.
This viewpoint is more consistent with what many spectators observe, and it is reasonable to assume that most coaches agree as well. With time, more of them will feel obligated to discuss it openly, especially if Clark continues to build up enormous statistics and hard-fought victories over them. She is a unique athlete who is transforming the appearance and feel of women's basketball, bringing it closer to the current NBA. That's why Noel Quinn labeling her a generational talent is significant, as it might be the first step toward Clark receiving the league-wide accolades she so well deserves. In just a few months, Caitlyn Clark has earned the reluctant adoration of great WNBA basketball strategists. This is a clear indicator of a future superstar, as rookies who demand such respect are rare. Of course, she will continue to be tested every night, and instructors will not stop attempting to limit her progress. Given how she has handled both criticism and compliments at the early age of 22, she will find more incentive in the WNBA coaches' comments to prove her fans correct and permanently quiet the critics. Most coaches feel that the best is yet to come, and fans who began following Caitlyn Clark during her first season are in for a thrilling trip that might involve a few championships before it's all said and done. But first up, next season with a new coach, but who will it be?